Welcome to AliPro's EduSoft Free Education YouTube channel. This is Anjana. I am teaching you Business Studies first chapter, part 4.
So friends, which is the comparison of business profession and employment. In this we are comparing business profession and employment according to the basic. There are some basics according to which we are classifying or comparing these three. So in the first one, according to the basic of mode of establishment, the business, profession and employment, it differs in different manner. And in case of establishment, business, it is the entrepreneur's decision and other legal formalities. First, the entrepreneur or the businessman who is involved in the business need to take the decision of what business he is going to start and which the business is related to which sector. The sector which the business involves and the idea of business that need to be established by the entrepreneur or the businessman. So this is the initial mode of establishment of starting a business. Also the legal formalities. Business can be run only by abiding to the legal formalities which the government is setting up. So the legal formalities as well as the decision of the entrepreneur need to be considered in mind. When taking about the profession, membership of a professional body and the certificate of practice is needed. We studied in the earlier part that a profession needs to be a professional when it is registered with the professional body related with the particular occupation. So in case of doctor, he or she need to register in the medical body, and if it is a lawyer, he need to be registered under a legal professional body. In case of a chartered accountant, he or she need to be registered in the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, ICAI. So likewise, each and every profession need to get a membership from the professional body which the particular profession is dealing with. Also, the professional need to get the certificate of the profession from the particular membership body. Next is about the employment. Employment deals with the in the establishment manner, it deals with the appointment letter and service agreement. That is, an employee can start his or her work only by the appointment letter. If the appointment letter is given to the employee by the employer, then only the employee can start his work. And about the service agreement. When about the service agreement, the employee is to have a bond. The bond means the bond which requires the employee to work in an office for a period of this much years. So the agreement, that is a service agreement between the employer and employee, is the start of the establishment of employment. Also the appointment letter which is given by the employer to the employee. Next is about the nature of work. When considering about the nature of work, in business, the provision of goods and services need to be public. The services or the goods which are involved in the business activities is not meant to be of the private use. It is meant to be for public purpose. Public purpose means if a man or if he or she is establishing a business, let it be a shop, the goods and services which he is using for the sale is not limited for the particular community or a particular group which the person who is putting the shop is favoring. It is for the public. It's for general purpose. it needs to be meant for the public purpose and not for a particular section of people who are involved in the society. So, in a business, first of all, the goods and services which are given in the provision need to be made public. Next is the rendering of personalized expert services in profession. It is all about the nature of work which are given as the expert services. Expert service need to be given by the professional body to the people who are coming to take the services. So, what is the nature of work of a profession? It is of very expertized and skilled manner. We know that profession, they have gained skill and knowledge by entering into a professional body. So, the services which the people are rendering are also of the expert services. Next is about the nature of work of employment. All the work which are involved in the employment is based on the rules and regulations which are given by the employer. So the employer, he brings out the rules and regulations and he imposes that rules and regulations to the employee, and employee is need to, or the employee is obliged to perform all the rules and regulations which are given by the employer in the service period. In the service agreement, which we explained in the mode of establishment, we have clearly mentioned that the rules and the decorum which need to be kept by the employee is clearly specified in the service agreement. So, the work is performed by the employee according to the rules of the service contract. Next is about the qualification of both business profession and also employment. In business, for the starting of a business, there is no need of a very much improved qualification. No minimum qualification is required. But after a certain period, if the person who is establishing the business need to diversify or to extend, then he or she should take considerations on some business decisions, and that business decisions need to be in a skillful manner, and that at that time they should be highly qualified. But for starting a business, there is no need of a business qualification. Just the finance or the capital which is invested in business is only what is needed. So minimum qualification is not necessary. And next, the profession. Expertise and training is specific or it's important, which means after passing out from a professional body and having a membership, the person need to get a skill and also expert of the occupation he is dealing with. Without that skill or expertise and also proper training, a person can't show his ability in the field of profession. So, training is needed in the profession together with expertise. Next is qualification and training as prescribed by the employer. In the service contract, when an employee starts working for the employer or his organization, the organization or the employer who is employing will be given the employee a training of particular months, namely 6 months to 1 year. And after the successful completion of training, the employer will able to know that if he or she who is employed will be able to perform the work as per the job requirements. So that training is the qualification, also the skills that he involved in doing that particular training. So training is given for the employee. Next is the reward or return. When talking about the reward or return, the reward for business we all know that is none other than profit. And for the profession, the reward is professional fee. In case of a doctor, when we move on to a clinic for seeing, we'll be charging a certain amount called fees by the doctor. In also the case of the lawyer, if you have any legal formalities or legal issues, we are charged an amount of fee for which is given to the lawyer. Also, in case of lecturers, if we are studying under a lecturer, the lecturer will be paid hourly, weekly, or monthly. If it is hourly, it will be as fee only, and we are need to require to pay that particular amount of fee for the expertise or the skill that a particular person is rendering to us. So it's all about professional fee. In case of the employment, the employee will be given in the service contract or in the service agreement that the particular amount will be given to him monthly. In the monthly period, it is called as salary. If it is given daily, it will be as wages. So daily amount or the monthly amount will be prescribed for the employee by the employer. So this is about the reward or return for business, profession and employment. Next is the capital investment. Capital investment is required as per the size and nature of business. When in case of the business, a business can be small or big. It depends on the entrepreneur's decision that we studied in the first mode of establishment. If the business that he is establishing is large, then the capital or the finance which is involved in the setting up of business will be high. If the business is of a cottage industry or a small scale one, then the finance which is required will be very low comparing to the one which we discussed earlier. So it is purely based on the decision of the businessman or the entrepreneur. Next is limited capital for profession needed for establishment. After gaining the expertise and knowledge, the profession or the professional need to be applied only for a limited capital. Only a limited capital will be required for his continuity of his occupation. And in employment, is there any capital needed for employment? No, because the employee is fully dependent on the employer and he is working as per the regulations which are given by the employer, and there is no need of any kind of capital that is to be invested, because the organization and its working, it will be controlled by the employer, and the work which is assigned to a particular employee need only to be done by him. So no capital required. Next is about the risk. We know what is risk. It's any chance or probability of anything bad happening. So that can happen in all these three. It can happen in business. It can happen sometimes in profession. Also, it can happen in employment. Sometimes. In case of the business, we know that risk is very high. We know business, it is an uncertainty contained one. So the risk can be happened more in business than in profession and employment. Profits, it is uncertain in business, right? Profit is uncertain because we don't know how much amount of profit is getting in business in a particular annual year. So while the calculation of profit is less, we can see that the risk which is involved in that particular annual year is high. And also irregularity. Business, there is no possibility that we can continue or we'll have a sale of continuous nature for the business. It can vary. So risk is highly present. Then about the profession. In profession, we cannot say that there is no risk because fees actually getting by the professionals are fixed, but that fees may be sometimes absent. So in times of absence of fees which are getting by the professionals, we can say that the risk is present, but not in the manner as in the case of business, but it is present in a mild manner. Next is about the risk in case of the employment. In case of the employment, there is also a sort of risk, but we can say that there is no risk because the employee doesn't have the risk of its own. He is only assigned with the work which is given by the employer. So, when the employee is satisfying all his jobs, he is entitled for a particular amount which is called a salary or sometimes wages. And when assigning or doing his job, he'll be getting salary monthly. So there is minimum or no risk in the case of employment. Next is about the transfer of interest. Transfer of interest, it is possible with some formalities in business. This means a man who's running a business or a person who's running a business can be transferred to another person. A person may be interested in starting a business in the present period, but he may lose his interest because of various reasons, mismanagement, incurring more losses, or something, and at that time he can carry over that business and he can transfer that business to another person that he or she wishes, and that particular person can continue with the business that the person who is doing that business before can do, because the interest that get lost in the coming years doesn't affect the running of business. If the business is doing by a particular person today, he may withdraw that and he can give that particular business and ownership to another person. There is no problem, but there is a formality that existed for the transfer of business, and that formalities need to be complied with the businessman for this transfer of interest. In case of transfer of profession, it's not at all possible because a person who is studying MBBS and becoming a doctor, he can't give that title of MBBS to another person tomorrow as he is not interested. The person who acquires knowledge in a particular field of study need to continue with that in the future too. He can't transfer it. A person putting a clinic and he is bored with that clinic and he is transferring that clinic to another person, his friend, that tomorrow onwards you can become the doctor of this clinic. It's not possible because the skill is only acquired by the person who first put the clinic, and it cannot be transferred at any cost because it is a skill which gains through utmost expertise. Next is about employment. This is very important as no possibility is there for the transfer of interest in employment. First itself we told that there will be a set of code of conduct which is given to the employee by the employer. In that itself, there will be a service agreement present, and in that service agreement, some rules regarding the employment which is to be done by the employee will be clearly specified, and the employee need to be fully aware of all the rules which are given in the service agreement. So, if a person is employing in a particular organization on behalf of an employer, he is to abide and he is to comply with all the rules of the post which is given to him. He can't transfer his post very next day and given to his or her friend, then can continue that person in his position. It's not possible. That is a main problem in profession and employment when comparing to business. So the transfer of interest is not possible in not possible in profession and employment, but is possible in business. The last basic of comparison is the code of conduct. When doing a business, there is no specific code of conduct written for the business to run. It is all depends on the entrepreneur or the businessman who is initiating or establishing the business. So it is in a very flexible manner. flexibility is transferred or which is seen in the operations of business. Businessman, he can entertain any rules or regulations in business according to his wishes. In case of profession, a certain code of conduct need to be followed because professional is something which is getting after much skill and expertise. So after the skill and expertise is given, membership also is needed in from the professional body for the professionals. Since it is needed, that professional body has also set a professional code of conduct for these kinds of professions to follow. So the minimum code of conduct need to be followed by the professionals, otherwise it will be violation of that particular profession. And in the employment, the behavior or the norms, it is laid down by the employer. The norms and the regulations are given by the employer to the employee, and that is followed by the employee. The code of conduct is fixed by the employer and it is given to the employee. So this is about the comparison of business, profession and employment, and this is a very important topic as this is asked in most of the examinations. So kindly remember all these points, and if you have any doubt in this portion, please comment in the comment section, or if you have any queries, please email us on the email ID given below. Also, like, share and subscribe to AliPro's EduSoft free education YouTube channel. Thank you.